You open a book or a new course you promise yourself. This time, I'll learn it properly. 20 minutes later, something strange happens. Your eyes move across the page. Yet nothing stays. You read the same line again and again until a quiet thought appears. Why is learning so hard for me? But here's the strange truth. Your brain is not bad at learning. In fact, it was designed to learn very fast, just not in the way most people try to force it. And once you understand the environments where the brain learns best, you begin to see why certain training programs teach people to absorb information at unusual speed. But the real question is not how to study harder. The real question is, what conditions make the brain open to learning? And the first clue appears in a moment you experience every night. Right before sleep. Point 2. Problem deep dive. Think about how most people study. Perfect silence. A quiet desk. No movement. No distractions. Just you and the material, but something inside your mind resists. Your attention drifts. Your phone becomes irresistible, even when you want to learn. Your brain seems to avoid it. Over time, this becomes something deeper. You stop seeing learning as curiosity. You start seeing it as pressure, something that measures your intelligence, something that quietly asks, are you capable enough? And when learning feels like a test of identity, your brain protects you. It delays it. It procrastinates. It looks for escape. Not because you're lazy, but because the brain is designed to avoid cognitive threat. When learning feels like judgment, your mind shifts from exploration into self-protection mode, which shuts down curiosity. And without curiosity, memory weakens. But here's the surprising part. The brain evolved to learn in completely different environments, not quiet rooms, but rich, sensory, unpredictable environments, which leads to the first hidden mechanism. Point 3. Reframe your brain is adapting right before sleep. Your brain enters something called a theta state. This is the soft mental space between wakefulness and dreaming. Thoughts slow down. Mental resistance lowers, and the brain becomes more open to forming connections. In normal alert states, the brain filters information aggressively. It constantly asks, is this important? Most study material gets rejected by that filter. But in relaxed states, that filter weakens. Information moves more easily into memory. Networks. Think of it like planting seeds. Dry soil rejects them. Moist soil allows roots to form. Your brain works the same way. Certain mental states make learning easier because the brain stops fighting the process. But mental state is only part of the equation. Environment also plays a surprising role. 4. Hidden mechanism. Why chaos can improve focus most. People believe focus requires silence, but your brain has something called an attention filter. Its job is to decide what deserves attention and what should be ignored. If you always study in perfect silence, this filter never develops strength. The smallest noise breaks your focus. But when the brain gradually learns in environments with mild background noise, something interesting happens. The filter becomes sharper. It learns to ignore irrelevant signals. Automatically, this is similar to muscle. Training resistance builds strength. Small amounts of distraction can train the brain to maintain attention under pressure, which is why people often discover they can work surprisingly well in cafes or busy spaces. The brain becomes better at separating signal from noise. But there is another system, even more powerful than attention, your senses. Point 5. The sensory memory system. Have you ever smelled something and instantly remembered a moment from years ago? That's because memory and sensory signals are deeply connected. Your brain stores experiences alongside context, smell, sound, lighting, even the clothes you wear. These signals act like retrieval keys. When the brain encounters the same cue again, the memory connected to it becomes easier to access. Think of it like a bookmark in a large book. Without the bookmark, you search through pages with it. The brain jumps directly to the right place. This is why consistent sensory cues during learning can strengthen recall, not because of magic, but because the brain remembers patterns of experience, not isolated information. And this leads to another fascinating system your brain relies on: Space 6. The brain's map-based memory, or brain, is exceptionally good at remembering locations. This ability comes from a structure called the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for navigation. In memory, it evolved to help humans remember paths, shelters, and resources, which means spatial memory is incredibly strong. When information is linked to locations, the brain recalls it more easily. You're no longer trying to remember abstract facts. You're remembering where the idea lives in your mental map. Your mind simply walks through the environment, and the information appears. But even strong memory systems need one more ingredient: variation. T. Quiet, empowering, close, most people believe. Learning requires long hours of repetition, but the brain actually strengthens knowledge through retrieval and contrast. Short bursts of learning, switching topics, returning later. Each time the brain revisits information, it rebuilds the memory pathway, not by forcing the brain harder, but by working with its natural rhythms. So maybe the real shift is this: learning isn't about pushing your brain until it breaks, it's about understanding the conditions where it opens. States of calm, small amounts of challenge, signals the brain recognizes, and environments that trigger curiosity. When those conditions appear, learning begins to feel different. Less like effort, more like discovery. And once that shift happens, you stop asking, "Why can't I learn faster?" and start asking something far more powerful: what kind of environment allows my mind to come alive?